Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the film from 2022, Glorious. Without any further, let's get started. The film begins with a man standing in an unknown, dark area. When a woman asks him if he is thinking about her, he responds that he always is. The scene then shifts to a man riding in his car while dreaming and trying to wake up to avoid that from happening again. He continues to drive till he reaches a spot where he parks and a woman sits there looking straight ahead. When the man struggles to remove the last candy bar from a vending machine, he becomes irate. The woman then explains that although it could appear to be broken, he may have given up. She then approaches him and asks some money, and when he gives it to her, she makes the candy to fall and hands it to him before walking away. The man returns to his car, looks at the red box in the passenger seat, and then picks up a fluffy bear. When he holds it and presses it, the bear tells him that it loves him. This gives him a brief flashback of a woman, which makes him angry and depressed. He then presses the bear against the steering wheel and yells loudly. He then urges himself to stop, gets out of the car, and calls a woman named Brenda. He leaves a message saying that it's Wes calling. After finishing the call, he tells himself that he should end it, but we watch him contact her again an unknown number of times. His conduct is so compulsive that he even drains his phone's battery. When he sees the percentage, he loses his temper and drops the phone, only to return to it later with sorrow. Later, after turning on the music in his car and drinking alcohol from the bottle, Wes acts irrationally, taking numerous items out of the car and setting them on fire. He then pulls out the red box, opens it, and throws pictures inside into the fire. But when he picks up a picture of a woman, he puts it in his shirt pocket instead of throwing it in. As the night goes on, Wes shouts out and takes the final drop from the bottle before falling to the ground. A purple light appears above him, and a woman with the red box stands up. When he wakes up in the morning, Wes discovers that the fire has gone and he is without pants, that a portion of them are ruined, and that he feels ill. He immediately rushes to the bathroom. As soon as he gets there, he begins vomiting continuously, and as he does so, the photo from his shirt pocket comes out. When the vomiting stops, Wes hears a voice coming from across a stall. When the man tells him that their presence together gives the possibility of communication, Wes responds that he's not much of a toilet talker. The man then asks Wes if he is recovering from his intoxication, to which Wes says that he is. After touching the toilet, he discovers that he touched his face, which prompts him to search for sanitary supplies. When the sink doesn't work, he uses the one next to it, but the water hardly runs from the faucet. While doing this, he talks to the man in the stall, which leads the man to explain that Wes is actually a bathroom talker. He then asks for Wes's name, which he offers to the man. He tries to peer beneath the stall to see who he is speaking to, but he can't see anything.
May I speak freely?
The man then asks him to come back to the stall, but Wes refuses. As he is about to leave, Wes looks in his pocket for the picture, but finds it missing. After asking Wes whether he wants to know his name, the man explains that he must hold his tongue in a specific way in order to pronounce it. The man instructs Wes on how to pronounce his name, and after a few tries, he correctly pronounces it as Gadonatha. He explains that it is the name of an ancient god. After a few seconds, Gad tells him he is that god. Wes thinks it's a joke and Gad replies that he can call him Thor. After he finds the photo and takes it up, then peers into the hole in the stall, Gad tells Wes not to do that. He goes on to explain that's his only warning, but Wes tries to see over the stall while standing on the toilet. Gad then lets out a loud scream and Wes ends up outside. When he gets into his car and sees the woman he knows sitting next to him, she tells him that she told him not to look into the stall. Her face then starts to look awful, and Wes becomes scared and returns to the stall. Anger then takes over, and when Gad asks him if he saw her, Wes becomes even more irate and tries to leave. But to his dismay, he is unable to do so. When Gad tells him he cannot go until they have finished talking, Wes reaches a small window there and yells for help. At that point, purple light appears. After the voice in the stall asks him if he's upset because he saw Brenda, Wes can't believe he heard him speak her name, so he starts slamming on the door of the stall. He claims to be having a nightmare, but the voice denies it. Gad then instructs him to use power to gather his thoughts. After telling Wes that fate had brought him here, Wes sees a red, glowing thing emerge from the Gad stall. He tries to flee but instead injures himself. Gat warns him that if Wes sees him, it will permanently ruin him. Wes then goes back to the stall and dislocates the metal toilet roll holder and uses it to undo the screws to the metal holder of the ventilation shaft. As he continues to speak with Gat, the voice informs him that they were both selected for
I
this.
am being sincere when I say it. Find me. But it was fate.
After removing the screws, Wes begins to crawl through the shaft. As he goes farther, he attempts climbing, but he is relieved when he exits into a new space and hears Gat's voice. He then realizes he is back in his stall. Gat reminds him that there is no way out and advises Wes to quit blaming the universe for his problems. Soon after, he recalls Brenda and how she asked him what he had done, which made him cry. He thinks of her again, but she yells at him. Gat tells him that he cannot hide in his memory. Wes tries to recall. Once more, he is attacked with repeated words, and as a result, he begins to bleed close to his ears. Gat then begins to tell him a story about how the universe came into being. He says that a being created everything, and then another being that would bring just destruction.
They created a being of pure nothing.
When Wes claims to be in hell, Gat replies that his father has now escaped and is looking for him, adding that only Wes can provide him with what he needs to transform back into his ethereal form. After Gat says that, an odd substance begins to emerge from the stall hole. Wes sees a car come at the spot and begins calling for help, but the man outside does not hear him. He then removes his earphones and hears Wes yelling. He then comes and knocks on the door. Gat orders Wes not to answer, but he does, saying he is unable to open it, and then instructs Gat to do so. When he does, Wes goes for the doorway, but the man pushes him down. The door then closes, and the new man introduces himself as the property supervisor.
Gary.
He inquires as to who is in charge of the locked door, and Gat responds that he is. He goes on to claim that Gary is now involved in this, but Gary tries to phone the police, and the purple light appears. Wes then tries to call for a cab, but Gary grabs him by the neck.
I don't think
Then, Gat yells on the phone to hang up. Gary gets angry and yells at Gat to let him go. Gary puts his hand on the stall door and is electrocuted. At that point, Wes is forced to enter the stall. He sets down his photo of Brenda, and suddenly Gat appears to Gary, who is shocked by what he sees. When Gary's intense experience is complete, his remnants are scattered all over the place. Afterwards, Wes remembers Brenda talking to him about another woman at a party, which appears to be their first encounter. After recalling that, Wes leaves his stall and finds blood all over the place. He takes the photo of Brenda and pockets it.
I told
After telling him that Wes must satisfy his physical form in order to be released, Gat shines a light through the stall's opening and declares his belief in Wes, but Wes still tries to get away. Nevertheless, he chooses to do it after it turns out to be
no
impossible.
one but
He goes into the stall and inserts a piece of himself through the hole, but Gat tells him that's not what he wants and that he needs his liver instead. He then takes a piece of glass from beneath the stall and informs Wes that he must voluntarily make the sacrifice. When Wes rejects to take part, Gat accuses him of selfish and claims that all life would be wiped out.
we don't have time.
Subsequently, Wes begins telling a story about his father, who struggled to support the rest of the family and his wife cheated on her. After telling Wes that she was selfish, as Wes shares his story, he begins to break the place up. Wes then exclaims that altruism is fake and that it's all about domination and power. A hole in the wall then reveals something strange. Gat asks Wes if he would do it for Brenda. Wes responds that he thought she was ideal for him, but Gat informs him that he broke her heart. Thus, Wes enters the stall and yells obscenities at Gat through the hole, which puts Wes in a position where he is standing in nothing. When he spots the plush bear there, it quickly grows enormous and approaches Wes with loud footsteps. When it pulls Wes inside by opening its chest, Wes lies on the bottom of his stall and crawls out. He claims that the pain was the worst he had ever felt, but Gat assures him that it was only a small portion of his strength. As he gets up and looks in the mirror, Wes begins to giggle. He then yells at Gat's father, which causes the wall to burst open. Gat claims that his father found them, and a strange creature there drags items from the facility away into it. As Wes hides in the stall, he begins to remember Brenda, and then he has a memory of her without a face.
A face that once made you so.
When Wes attempts to look at his photo of Brenda, he discovers that she is no longer there. He then goes on to remark that he would do everything to see her again, and with that, Wes is taken back to his memory with Brenda. She offers him an anniversary gift, and he tells her that he forgot about it. He then takes the teddy bear out of the bag. Back in the stall, Gad informs him that he needs his hidden away emotions. Wes then gets ready and holds the glass shard in his palm. She opens the red box and looks at images of numerous girls, and they stand there in silence while Brenda looks hurt. Then she follows him, and we see a lot of hands on Wes. Gad takes what he wants from the guy, and after the deity has it, Wes hears strange noises coming from the stall. Then the stall door opens, light spills out, and Gad reveals himself and appears incredibly ugly. After his revelation, the area returns to normal. The divine enchantment is broken, and Wes is allowed to leave. As he moves to the doorway, Wes declares himself a hero, but Gad informs him that heroes are remembered, but Wes will be forgotten. In the final scene, Wes crawls out of the facility and approaches his stuffed bear. He presses it to hear its message, but it ends with a robotic sound, and Wes lies on the ground, marking the end of his stay on Earth. Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.